Hello, and welcome to Up Close and Personal with Anelia Benz. I'm your host, Helene Lipson. For our listeners not yet acquainted with Anelia, she was born in Chile and entered this world directly from source energy without any karmic debt, and she came into this life with a sense of knowingness on a pure mission. Her soul's purpose is to raise the vibrational level of the planet to a critical point that will allow a transitioning into the new paradigm, the new level of awareness for everything, for the planet and everything in it, every rock, every insect, every person. And to do that job, Anelia is a spiritual catalyst, awakening those asleep, helping those already aware to reach a higher vibrational level, and she's even traveled to different geographical areas in various ways for the sake of cleansing it so that the vibration can come through properly. For those of you who don't know this, Anelia is the mom of 4 wonderful children. We will explore in this episode some of the challenges and triumphs she's had in raising her 4 children in today's world. Anelia, are you there?
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Helene.
So Anelia, this is what I'm wondering. If we're a soul in a body coming in, and we're very aware of who we're coming through, did you have a soul agreement with the children that you have now to be born through you?
That's one of the questions about that is that there are karmic relationships and agreements to have certain experiences on the planet with certain people, right? And the agreement comes from the person, the soul, the body, and the other person's soul, body as well. And often people will be born to somebody who they will be vibrating at a level which they want to experience on this plane as well. And but in my case, what I can say, my experience was that there were millions and millions of beings who wanted to be born through me, right? And there still is. I have to be extremely careful because I will get pregnant just by looking as a man. So I've got to be really, really careful. With regards to the children that were born, there was a kind of meeting previous to their birth or previous to their conception. I saw my daughter about a week before or something like that. She was conceived, and she looks exactly the same as she looks in real life. And she came up to me and she says, hello, my name is Daniela, and I'm your daughter, right? And I thought, wow, that is so awesome, you know. And she, you know, she was born. She was my first child. People thought I was crazy at the time because I told everybody I was going to have a baby and I wasn't even pregnant yet.
Oh my gosh.
And then I told them I was going to have this little girl. She was blonde and blue-eyed, and everybody laughed at me because I'm dark, you know. It's like, no, dark people can't have blonde, blue-eyed babies. And then they convinced me that I had to really plan to have a, you know, in case I had a boy and not to be disappointed and stuff like that. And, you know, it wasn't that I wanted a girl. I just knew it was going to be a girl, right?
Wow.
And sure enough, she was born, girl, blue-eyed, blonde. And everybody went, wow.
Wow.
That's amazing. How did you know, kind of thing. And and then the second boy, he came in through a very dramatic period of like a time frame. It was a very dramatic time frame. I had a near-death experience at the time as well, and while I was basically dying, he came in, grabbed onto me and pulled me back onto the planet. So that was his agreement. You know, he was basically bringing me back, and he offered to do that, which was an amazing thing to do, because I couldn't manage it at the time. I was too weak. And so that was that came in through like that, right?
Wow.
And he's managed to stick around and stay here, right? He stayed. But he's very different to. I have never met anybody like him, really. He's quite unique. And then my youngest, I didn't even know that I was pregnant. He's snacking.
Oh.
And by the time I found out, I was like, what? How did that happen? I knew about the other two, but wow, this is such a complete surprise. And I'm pretty sure I know who he was in the previous life. I mean, I met this person who was a neighbor of mine and my mother's, and he used to be a really nice bloke. He used to be in his 90s and taught me about gardening and all sorts of different things like that. Really, really nice bloke. And I think it might have been him, because at one point when my youngest of the three, like I said, in the previous conversations, he had that experience of knowing that he'd had a walking stick and stuff.
Wow. Does this little boy of yours like to garden?
He does not.
He does not.
No, but he has a lot of traits, personality traits of the other person. At the same time, though, it could be that it was somebody very similar, or because at the same time he is extremely awake and he knows and lives a human kind of game existence knowingly, right? Mm-hmm. He knowingly does it. So
very interesting.
Yeah, so he's a mystery to me. He might be that person, he might not. He's always kept himself very mysteriously private. So that has been my experience, and like I say, there's always an enormous queue, right, trying to be born. So that's, I have no idea why. I mean, I've had enormous gratitude for the children who have chosen and managed to have the full-term pregnancies, because I had a few miscarriages as well. My physical body is not really, apparently I'm not really able to have children at a medical level, at a physical level, because of physical matters, something wrong with the uterus and stuff. So yeah, it has a few miscarriages, but there was 4 that made it all the way, right? So, and my last child, he was, I knew, Source actually asked me to have the 4th child. I always knew I was going to have 4 children, or at least that was my choice as well, right? Basically, I've been requested to have 20 children, but I can't do it, physically do it, right? But, so 4 is like, I can do 4 kind of thing. And my 4th child, I saw him a few years earlier, and it was basically really funny because I was meditating and I saw him. He hadn't decided whether he was going to be a boy or a girl at the time. So I scanned through possible fathers. I was looking at different timelines, right, for different fathers. And then I found one that I resonated with very strongly, and I actually saw him in this meditation, and I saw the child that was born, who's just my little boy now. And I was very surprised because they were really tall, and I had never even gone out with a tall person before, and I thought, well, that's really strange. Okay. So I'll choose that one, and then sure enough, 2 years later, I met him. Was it 2 years? Actually, it was about a year later, about 1 year later, I met him and I recognized him, and we started going out, and a few years later we had the child, and it's one of those strange things. So that was very different. I'm not really sure whether everybody's experience is the same, and I know for sure that there are that people choose their parents and parents choose their children because it's a two-way system, right? Mm-hmm. Through many types of different decisions, such as karmic links, resolving of things, or sharing of vibration, or wanting to have an experience together type thing. Mm-hmm. And I think mine really falls on the latter category, that wanting to have that experience together. I wanted to experience giving birth and being a mother. I really wanted to have that experience. And once I had the first experience, I thought it was the most awesome, fantastic experience on the planet. It had no equal, there's nothing equal to it, right? It was the just most amazing, interesting, just amazing experience. So I thought, I want to have it again.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
And again, and again, and again, and again. And I would love to, I would love to have another 20 children, but my physical body just cannot take it. I nearly died last time, so it's like, I don't think so. We can't really risk it.
So basically, you had your first 3 children, and then later on had another baby.
That's right, yes. I've been married twice, so the first 3 are from my first marriage, and my baby one, the 6-year-old, he's not a baby anymore. Oh. He's from my second marriage, yeah.
Do they have some of the gifts that you have? Were they born some of the same, with similar traits?
Well, because when you're a young mother or a mother with young babies or whatever, you get to meet other mothers. And I honestly think that every child that is born, every baby that's born comes in with everything, all the skills and abilities and everything that we are then switched off, right, throughout our lives. I don't think that my kids are in any way special or different to any other child that's born on the planet. And I think that I wasn't either. It's just that mine didn't switch off. Like my knowing didn't switch off. And some children's knowing doesn't switch off.
And what about your children? So do they have this knowing?
Yes, they've always had it. But at different ages, they've decided to go into the human game, to lead an ordinary human life, to play the human game. And when they do that, for me, because the first 3, I had them when I was very young. My daughter was born when I was 19. So it's like, I would feel very much that I wanted them not to. Mm-hmm. But I completely respected their higher self and knowing that they wanted to do it. But every year I would ask my kids, even as they were growing up, are you ready to let go of your human games and start the real work, I would call it, right? Or the real game now? And they would, each one of them would say, no, not yet. I don't think I'm ready yet. And a couple of years ago, my daughter turns around and says, you know what? I am ready. And that was so awesome because it was just that she reverted back to how she was when she was born. It's like, oh my God, so skilled, so wide open, and her intuition, psychic abilities, telepathic abilities, manifesting abilities just flourished. It wasn't overnight. It did take her a while. She had to reboot her entire system several times in order to achieve it, but she did, and she has, and she's still doing it. Awesome. With regards to my sons, they're still playing their human games and very busy with it. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. My youngest child of the first marriage, my 22-year-old, he is actually a father himself. So I'm a grandma now. I'm a grandmother.
Really? You're a grandma?
Yeah, I have 2 grandchildren, a boy and a girl. So yeah, it's like he always knew that he was here and he wanted to be a father. Even when he was tiny, you would ask him, what are you going to be when you grow up? A daddy. He would always say, a daddy. And he was saying, I'm going to have 20 children and I'm going to be a daddy. And, now he started very, very young, of course. And wow. I did as well.
Wow. So, does he live nearby?
No, unfortunately, he lives in Spain, in Madrid. So, no, I don't get to see them very often at all.
Where are your other 2 older children?
My boy, and my girl are living in England. They live in England. But they travel to the States quite regularly, so I get to see them every year.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Now that you are at this point in your life, you have the time, you have the patience, you have to really just pour into this child. What is he like? What's the little one like?
Well, I know you mentioned at the beginning of the show that I was like showing how life could be lived, or it's an example of how somebody with a high vibration could live life. But I had no idea how to live life, and I had no idea how to be a mother or a parent. I read books. I went out and I got myself parenting books. I went to parenting classes because I had no idea of how to do this. I wasn't parented myself because of all the different issues that happened in my life before and after the thing in Chile and stuff. So I basically brought up myself, and I didn't do a very good job. So I went out and I got books and I got training. I got trained. And so yeah, I mean, if you're going to have a kid, educate yourself, because it doesn't come in as an instinct. The various things do, but the programming, because we do program our kids, we give them tools. We want them to be extremely happy. And what I would say is really not to project our own desires and wishes and dreams onto them. To really allow them to be themselves and give them as many tools as possible. That's why I encourage him to do sports. I take his daddy takes him to do sports, the younger one. And the older ones also, I used to take them to do sports. They did taekwondo. I did taekwondo with them. They did. They learned. I took them to piano lessons. I used to do art all the time at home, painting and drawing. So yeah, give them a very rounded education so that they're using both sides of the brain throughout their infancy and learning periods and childhood. And then they come to an age where they grow up, and you have to let them go. And sometimes they choose to go into the human game very young. My daughter, she was 4 years old when she decided she was going to go into the human game. She was 4, and I had to allow her to do that. So basically, to give them space and time and everything. But yeah, I mean, my youngest, he has been brought up differently because now I'm more like a grandmother, I'm a lot older. I'm not 19 anymore, so I'm less strict.
You're an incredibly patient person. I mean, as a mom myself, my children are grown. As a mom myself, my children have tested my patience at different times. And there'd been a lot of chaos at different times. And basically, I guess what I'm saying is, how did you discipline the children, or how were you able to keep order?
The naughty corner.
Okay.
I think they call it something else here. They call it.
They call it time out.
Time out, yeah.
Time out. Okay, so you had a naughty corner. You had a naughty corner, and then,
yeah. But I learned that from one of my parenting classes because I had no idea. I was beaten black and blue to get me to do stuff myself, and I knew instinctively that only created a violent person. It didn't do anything else, right?
Yeah.
So I had no idea how to get the kids to behave in a manner that was acceptable. So I went to parenting classes and I learned about the naughty corner, so yeah, that's what I used.
Well, Anelia, in closing this interview, I wanted to ask you one last question. You have 4 beautiful children, and so when they were first born, how did you greet them? What did you say?
Each one of them, as when they came out and I looked into their little eyes, I said, "Welcome to Earth. I'm your mommy. And my name is Anelia. And here's your daddy, And your name is, whatever their name was." Yeah.
That's what you did? You said?
Yeah, I did.
Welcome to Earth. That's so sweet. Welcome to the world. Well, here they are. And thank you so much for taking this time to speak with us about your children and your family. It's just a pleasure. And again, this is Helene Lipson, your host, and this is Anelia, Up Close and Personal. Thank you. Have a beautiful day. Namaste.